Hello everybody, Daniel Gaines here. Just wanted to briefly jump on to say what I think is going to end up happening today with this court hearing. I'm still kind of torn because the case precedent being what it is, that should result in them terminating the order and reimbursing me the stolen funds, and that should be that. That's what should happen based on the law, based on case precedent in the state, based on everything, due process. That's what should happen. However, we're dealing with the corrupt courts in Washington, so there's really no telling what's gonna happen. What I kind of expect is that because she has an attorney and I don't, the attorney's obviously going to be engaging in ex parte communications with the commissioner, and it's going to be decided before it ever gets heard. Meaning that they're going to try and award her attorney fees. They're going to claim that everything's proper, but yet there's zero financial documents on the case. Zero anything. All that'll be ignored and overlooked. They're going to try to say I have to submit my financial information, which I will tell them to kiss my ass. It's not going to happen. And y'all should know I mean that, because I've already told them to kiss my ass on the record. They ain't getting shit from me. But they'll be told they can kiss my ass. I ain't giving them anything. But yeah, that's what'll happen. They'll keep everything in place, try to tell me I have to give the documents over, try to award her attorney fees and everything else, simply because they'll have this decided before it even gets heard because of the ex parte communication. That's kind of how I'm actually leaning as far as what's going to happen. Again, the hearing's in at 11 o'clock my time, Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. today. So won't be long before I find out and post the video or audio, whatever it is, of the hearing itself. But it's one of them things that I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, because judges and commissioners' hands are more so kind of tied whenever it's case precedent from the state. They'll ignore the federal shit all day long until you actually elevate things to the federal level. Then the state will want to hurry up and address it and blah, blah, blah. But state precedent, it's a lot harder for them to ignore. So that's where I'm kind of torn. I don't expect them to comply with the law, because they don't up there. I'm a male, I'm a father, I'm a straight white male at that. So I'm automatically public enemy number one to these people, because they have an issue with men, especially straight white men in the state of Washington. So there's already going to be discrimination and bias. That's been shown every fucking step of the way. And the fact that she has an attorney and I don't, even though her attorney is already engaged in multiple criminal violations of law, all kinds of unethical conduct unbecoming of an attorney, and all this other jazz, including having documents filed in the case that still never even sent to me. Nor did he inform the courts that has nothing to do with this matter, the documents he filed. It has to do with other shit, and he's aware of that. He's just trying to play it off on the courts. And he thinks he's not going to get called out. But aside from the usual and typical conduct, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know exactly how this one's going to go. This one's could be one of two ways. So this one's kind of iffy and kind of difficult. Like I said, one way, they're actually going to comply with the precedent, and it's all going to be done and over with, and the state will give me back my money, and then it's up to the state if they want to go after her for the money back. Otherwise, the other option is completely ignore the law, completely ignore case precedent, and they'll continue doing the same shit they've been doing this whole time, which is fine because this is the final hearing. This is the final door that I need to shut or have shut to clear the way to ensure that there's no possibility the state of Washington can get my federal action kicked, because then the state and the courts in the state have refused to allow me any proper venue to have this addressed. So next week or the week after, the federal filing will actually be filed at the federal courts in St. Louis for the Eastern District, in the Eastern District of Missouri. And then from there, service. I've already got a process server lined up that I'll be using. It's going to take a couple weeks, I think, to get everybody served. There's a fee per person for each person because it's a different service to a different person, different address and everything. So, and the amount of people, the service fees alone are going to get extensive. However, it's all good. It'll be taken care of. And I will be getting all my money back anyway from the state of Washington, and then following the finding of guilt, these people individually. So I'm not tripping on the expenses. It's going to add up, but it's the nature of the beast. And that's the way that these things go. However, they underestimate the amount of support that's in the community for men, fathers' rights, and they fail to understand that they've been outclassed and outmatched every step of the way. See, the way it's going to go is the entire case file encompassing everything, literally, will be at the federal courts. It will be included in the case. And the beauty of things is, when the federal judges start looking at my filings, and then the state and the court's responses, the attorney's responses, and blah, 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 they're going to notice something very interesting that thus far they've completely fucking missed. If you look through my filings, you'll notice I don't use a lot of the same case law. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I don't use the same case law repeatedly like a lot of people do. I mean, granted, case law is case law. You can use the same stuff. If it applies, it applies. But for me, I've done this for so long and done so much reading and research that I'm fortunate enough I can cite 30 pieces of case law in one hearing, and then the next hearing cite 30 more, and never use the same case twice, and all of them be applicable and standing and everything else. So I'm very lucky that way. So the case law and everything that I've used and the way I've done it has all been by design. The way I've laid everything out has all been by design. See, if you take all my filings since the whole arrest of Juliet and Faith and you start going over them, it touches upon pretty much everything except for the details surrounding the dependency. It's the only thing lacking at this point, but I'll get to go into that because the dependency will be found to have been bullshit and bogus and everything else. So, that being said, once you start reading through everything and looking at everything, you're talking a couple hundred pieces of case law, multiple precedents, multiple state and federal laws that are all valid and applicable. And these people are so focused on covering up what they've got caught doing, that they fail to see what I'm up to and what I'm doing. Whenever all I wanted was the law to be followed and complied with from the start. They chose not to. Whose fault is that? So, this is this is the last hearing. And to be honest, I really don't care what they do. I really don't. I mean, I'm going to cite some laws, I'm going to cite some things and everything else. My filing is what it is and speaks for itself very clearly and plainly. But it's still a matter of, these are very corrupt actors in a very corrupt judicial system with very corrupt courts in a very corrupt state. So, me not caring doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I'm just giving up or whatever. It's that regardless of what they do here, I'm filing with the federal courts next, because they're not going to set this over for summary judgment and actually properly address all of this. They're not. They're not going to touch this sua sponte. They're going to force this. They're going to force somebody with a court with much more authority to deal with this, because they won't. And that's extremely evident at this point. Has been all along. As such, I don't care, because after today, we go to the federal courts with this. Yep, we go to the feds. And then, that's when the real fun begins. Because that's when everything fucking comes out. So, I got court here shortly. So I gotta go. Y'all have a good one. Peace.